There it is.
I'm here.
Well, we hear you, baby. Okay?
All
We can't
right.
see you, but we hear you.
And I can see you.
You can see me.
Yep.
Can anybody else see me? It may just be on my end. Ash, can you see me?
Oh.
Yeah, baby. No, okay. Okay. Soraya says she can't see you, but we hear you. Well, I mean, we would love.
It just, I don't know what you just did, but it just like
Can
knocked
anybody
me
else
out.
see me? Do you want to try logging in from your main page or no? It may just be
Yeah,
on
I
my end.
am. Because it did something weird and funky. Hold on, I'll be back, people.
Okay. Hi, Relis. Thank you. Thank you. Celeste 541.
And we can
Thank you,
still hear
guys.
her.
Sometimes I feel like it's just me. I don't know.
People. Things be happening on these channels. I guess it's meant for me to do it from my personal page. That's what I'm thinking. Uh, now, can I find her? There she go.
How are you guys feeling? Drop how you guys are feeling in the comments. I know I always say, drop where you from in the comments. How are you feeling in the comments? How are you guys feeling? Especially after this winter storm. I know I'm feeling. Okay, so be joined from his main page. I know I'm feeling like it wasn't that bad. Yeah, okay, like I understand why they canceled school, but I feel like it wasn't as bad as they anticipated it. Fatigued, yeah. I'm feeling kind of tired too. Very lethargic. I'm with you, Soraya. But that's okay. That is your baby. Hello, my bestie.
Hello.
Spirit fingers.
Spirit
How
finger.
old? Oh, Soraya, I'm just curious because I know eventually you want to get a dog. So how often do you have to keep up the maintenance? Because if it's too much, I can't do it. Hold on for a second.
Yes, now we are ready. I don't know.
Yeah, can I get you to hold this, Shelby? I need to take care of a last minute emergency.
Yes.
Man down.
All right. Well, if this is your first time, welcome. This is the Healing Room Tarot and Love Anye podcast, Cards and Conversations, where a night of Cards and Conversation is like getting 4 years of college. And I'm just trying to tell you, it's because we talk about the different topics that arise in our daily lives or whatever we're inspired to talk about. But first and foremost, we're here to help you heal. I know Ashley has introduced herself probably like 3 or 4 times by now. So I will go ahead and introduce you to myself. I am B. I'm also known as Magoon. I am a instrument for spirit to use as spirit pleases and how spirit wishes to use me as well. And I say that because you'll see me operate in a multitude of gifts and I never know which one is going to be required until the time of. However, we're here to help you dance a little, laugh a little, cry, console, pop those hands if we need to. But ultimately, we are here to guide you in the right direction. Ultimately, the main work is for you, but we're going to help you through that. This is a community, so welcome. And definitely like, share, and subscribe. Hello. We would love to see you back at different times, even as time permits it for you, right? because we know that everybody has a busy schedule, life schedule. But outside of that, we do love our returners. We've had so many people from different countries to tune in, and we absolutely love it. We created this space to be a safe space. So if you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, let us know. Please share that with us. Yes. And see, we have a few returners here tonight as well. Yes. And I do believe there are no coincidences. So I do believe that I was meant to share tonight's topic on my main page. We'll see why later, right? But I hope you all enjoy tonight's topic. I cannot wait to dive into such a topic as this because it's very much needed, especially now during the season of awakening. Because as people start to awake and understand that some of the things that they were being taught were wrong, now is the time of consolation for so many people and being regrounded because they now have to live in a new normal, right? So that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. I'm coming, guys.
Bestie is given 1950s, 1960s housewife. I'm loving it. I am really loving this. And I hope you all out there are well.
Oh my goodness.
Right. Look at it. For all my thespians out there, you know how whenever we do period work, we have to look up like the different styles. So it's just like I'm seeing some of the different styles that they would have used during that time period. I am okay, actually. So I was impacted by the storm. For those of you who don't know, and my power went out for 2 days. So we had no heat and no lights for 2 days. So this is the end result. I know. I know. It reminded me of being back at App and learn having to redo things. For those of you who don't know, we the school that we all attended was in the mountains, and so we're used to snow. We're used to being locked out of things and having to like figure out how we were going to take a bath and all of that. So it just brought me back to those days. um, my Yeah, I was cold. I did wrap up, but you know, you could wrap up but so much before the cold gets you. And I think that's what happened with me on last night. I got a little bit colder than expected. Yeah. It is some interesting times that we are in, but nothing that we cannot conquer. Nothing that we cannot conquer. I was trying to see. Yes, absolutely. So while we are also waiting, what are some things that you all have dabbled with, but stopped because you realized that you may be doing it wrong? And that's if you're not if you care to share, right? And I don't mind sharing mine. Um, for me, it was doing things with fire magic. I didn't realize that was a true thing outside of what you see on the Disney Channel, right? And a friend of mine had said he had found a ruined stone, which I later believe he got from a gas station. Um, but me and him were in agreement that one of the teachers in my elementary school needed to leave, and so we wrote her name on a piece of paper, and it basically was a spell, and I used it in fire, burned it up, and the question is, what are some things that you have done or attempted to do but stopped because you realize it wasn't you didn't have all of the necessary tools or knowledge to carry it out, excuse me. But
I apologize for my tardiness.
oh no, you're
My
fine.
daughter just threw up. She just threw up everywhere, so I had to clean it up.
Oh. Oh, but yeah, so after writing her name on the piece of paper with the stone in it and burning it, putting it into the atmosphere, the very next day, kid you not, the very next day, um, the teacher was not there, and we were like, okay. And we are like, okay, well, maybe she's called out sick or something. And then they placed it over the announcement that she would no longer be working at the school that she had moved on. And it all happened so fast that we were just like, what in the world? And he looked at me and I looked at him and I said, you know what? I'm not doing that anymore because I don't know what I did. I just know that I did something and it came true. So I said before I do anything else, I'm not going to do that again, and I haven't until now. I know what it is that I was doing. So it is good to not play with things that you're not ready for because you don't know what the end result will be.
That's right. Gotta be careful playing with fire,
Exactly.
with magic, with anything. You might get burned. I don't know if you already introduced yourself. I apologize, guys. Something wicked this way comes. Yeah, you got to be careful because you don't know what spirits you're invoking. You don't know what, your words are spells. So you have to be careful what you're calling in if you're not sure of the severity of what you're calling in, especially if that elemental element requires you to give something in return. You just don't know what that elemental element is requiring in return. If you're trying to just do something just, very basic, very surface level, that's fine. But if you're trying to like move mountains, be very careful what elemental element you're using because they may require something as large as your soul as a down payment.
Exactly.
And when they want it, they come to collect. They're going to come to collect. So we're going to get into that. And I'm glad you shared that story, B, because something similar happened to me when I first started my spiritual journey. I started it and I was like, okay, let me see how powerful I am. And I did something small. And a couple of months later, it happened. And I was like, oh, word. And that was just something minute. So imagine something catastrophic. Imagine something paramount. And that's when I knew how powerful I was. So we're going to get into it. So if it's your first time here, welcome. If not, welcome back. I'm Ashley Anye, an intuitive alchemist and energy reader. And I'm just here to help y'all heal. And we're healing with humor because laughter is always the best medicine. Talk to these people, B.
Again, I am B. Magoon. I am the instrument that Spirit will use as Spirit pleases. So again, you never know how Spirit is going to lead me or direct me. Just know that I am Spirit-led first and foremost.
That's right. And if you guys are going to chill with us, you might as well build with us. 40 minutes of Cards and Conversations is like 4 years of college.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and get right into it. Since I had to step away for roughly 15 minutes, thank God to an emergency. Let's go ahead and deep dive right into it. So,
all right.
Let's talk about something real for a moment. Something that most people will just brush over because they're not sure of the severity. They don't understand the different layers. It's layers to this shit. It's levels to this shit with anything, especially with spirituality. And we live in a world where people want instant gratification. They want shit to be instant. They want their manifestations to come into fruition instantly. They want their spells to happen instantly. And nothing, happens instantly. Everything is a process, even with magic. Everything is a process, even with magic. And magic responds to knowledge, intuition, and respect. You have to understand the spiritual laws. You have to be directly connected to your intuition. And you have to respect the elemental elements in order for you guys to expedite those manifestations. So please be cognizant of that, guys. It does not depend on your curiosity, on your desperation, or on ego. It depends on your certainty. You are certain that you know what you're doing. You are knowledgeable of the effects, and you've read the fine print. Never sign a contract, especially when it involves your soul, without reading the fine print.
Mm-hmm.
All right? You must know exactly what you are doing before you attempt any kind of spiritual work. You must know exactly what you are doing before you attempt any spiritual work. And I know the good rule of thumb is to not perform any spiritual work when you're flustered, when your emotions are all over the place, especially if you're doing like spells that involve like energies and intentions that are paramount. Never do it when your emotions are all over the place. Make sure you are calm because those emotions can be invoked and they will go into the spell. So you guys have to make sure that you are level-headed. It's okay to have emotions. You're human. You're spiritual beings having a human experience, but make sure that you guys are calm, cool, and collected. And a good way to figure out if you guys are calm, cool, and collected is candle magic. When you're doing candle work, look at the light, the fire. Look at the fire, and if the fire is going crazy, bring it back. Bring it back. Maybe, take a 15-minute break and then come back, because that's going to let you know that it's not catching. Like the candle is going crazy, so your ancestors or whoever you've called on to help you with this spell may not go through the way that you want it to, because your emotions are involved in it. And it's good to have your intent in it, but not too much emotion. With magic, I've learned that you have to be more, I don't want to say logical, because when it comes to magic, logic kind of goes out the door, but you have to be level-headed at least. So you find that, B, when you do magic or when you just perform spells or incantations, that you have to be like, kind of like on your block, on your like P's and Q's, because if not, then it's not going to go through properly.
Yes.
You got to be calm, right?
Yes, because the spiritual world is all about balance. So if you're unstable and you're doing these things, it's almost like it causes like a misfire with a gun. Whereas it doesn't hit the intended target, but it does explode in your hand. If you think of it that way, then that will help a lot of people not to do things in the heat of the moment. which is why, we have often talked about, even when you're trying to do a love spell on someone, think about it before you actually attempt, because is that truly your person? Right? Because like if you're calling in somebody, you call in everything with that person, right? Their the weight that's on their shoulder, their ancestral, you know, uh oh gosh, what do we call it, Ashley? Um,
What?
I'm ancestral baggage is what's coming to me right now. It's just weird. It's weird how it's coming out that way, but I'm really hearing ancestral baggage, meaning whatever this person's bloodline has carried through, and some people call it generational curses, but for the intents and purposes of this, I'm really seeing it as their baggage. Um, they carry it alone, and it's in this person's bloodline, where it just becomes a familial habit when really it was something that was learned over time. And so it's just a different baggage that these people have carried throughout lifetimes, right? And by you prematurely and ignorantly causing a love spell for this person, you're inviting all of that into your life. So that's what we mean. Like, you really have to think about it before you do any type of spell. You want to be level headed.
Intuitively. And just to build off of what you said, that is so true, because when you do try to perform said love spell, you're going to have to do it over and over again, because you are now interfering with someone's free will. And that's why I always tell people I don't do love spells, because the consequences of that, detrimental, drastic. They could go on for a lifetime, because you're not only dealing with the person, you're dealing with their trauma, not trauma, their ancestors. Everyone has ancestors, and if you are trying to invoke your will on someone else's free will, not a good look. And you'll have to constantly go back to that root worker and get a love spell on that person and re-up each time, because it's not going to have longevity, because that person is under a spell. They're basically asleep. As soon as they wake up, it's a wrap. It's a Reynolds. And that's why I said I don't do love spells, because guess who's getting burned? It won't be you. Right. It'll be me. Because I'm the one with the knowledge, power, and wisdom. And so I don't do love spells. I don't do revenge spells. I don't do none of that. So guys, please stop DMing me. I don't do none of that. I told someone the other day on YouTube, a couple of years ago on YouTube, I don't do love spells. He had just gotten released from prison, and he wanted the girl who he was with while he was doing his bit to come back to him. I said, if it's God's will, she'll come back, but I'm not messing with that. Because the minute she wakes up, she's walking away, and you're back at my door. And a lot of practitioners will do it because they know that it's like reoccurring income.
Right.
They know it's a reoccurring income. Not I, said Ashley. You will not find me up under someone's foot. Ancestors will not be on my neck. So no, I do not do love spells. FYI. Exactly. So let's keep it moving. So yes, you have to know what you're doing before you attempt any type of spiritual work, and know what you are calling, where they come from, and what they require. We talked about that earlier, because they could be requiring your soul, which is priceless. And once you give that away, you basically, the body will follow. Once someone has your soul, the body follows. You know how they say, what's your attention? What gets your attention gets your energy. What you focus on, what your attention focuses on, your energy follows. That's why you don't give your attention to negative things, because your energy is going to come right after that. All right. So be careful what you give all of your attention to, because your energy is going to follow. And you're also putting your bloodline at risk. A lot of your ancestors can't get your ass out of stuff that you have put yourself in. You're literally writing a check that your ancestors cannot cash. A lot of you guys think that they have leeway because they're in the spiritual world now, because they have graduated and ascended to the astral realms, but they're spiritual laws. that still apply. Just like their laws of the land, they're spiritual laws, and they conduct spiritual court. And if you're out of your league, and if you're out of conduct, and you're just off the Richter, they can't save you. They can't save you. They can't go over the spiritual laws to save you. So be careful playing with fire if you don't know what you're doing. All right?
Exactly.
Not every spirit that shows up is here to help. And that's what always gets a lot of people. They think that they can go to any practitioner, can get help. But what does the Bible say? Test the spirit. Test the spirit. If you feel like you are dealing with someone who is not of the light, guess what? They're not. They're not. And whatever they're going to help you achieve is going to be short-lived. So make sure you are dealing with someone of the light, someone who is high vibrational, someone who doesn't have a history of hurting people. And I know it's hard when it comes to practitioners because you can't really go on Yelp and look at the results or reviews. That's when your intuition is going to have to take over and show up. Your intuition is going to have to clock in. You're going to have to clock out and say, okay, what do I feel? How does this person make me feel? That should always be the number one question in any situation, any setting. How does this person make me feel? How do I feel when I'm around them? Does my body relax? Is my body tense? Am I on edge? Do I always feel anxious, anxiety, nervousness? How do I feel when I'm around this person? And that will tell you everything you need to know. Because again, spiritual work requires discernment. Spiritual work requires discernment, protection, and responsibility. You have to be responsible when you are practicing spirituality. When you are reciting incantations, when you're doing spells, you have to be responsible. You know, they always tell you guys when you're doing a spell, thing has to be quiet. Nobody can really be around unless they're involved in the spell. Make sure the right music is playing. If you invoke music, you know, during your incantations, whatever the case may be, just make sure that you are at peace when you're performing the spell. If not, then however you feel and what's going on around you is going to be invoked in that spell, in that candle, in that incantation. Anxiety is real. And more people are suffering from anxiety than they care to admit. Anxiety is real. And a great way to get rid of that, I'm telling you guys, is meditation. Meditation, meditation, meditation. That's the best way to get rid of anxiety. So when you're inviting these spirits in, you don't get to pretend like you didn't mean it. Or like, oh, no, I didn't mean to call on you. You know, I meant to call on your brother, your sister, you know, Day and them. No, you called on Auntie Ann and she's coming to collect.
Okay.
You should have been more cognizant about calling on Auntie Ann because now that she's awake and she's locked and loaded and they ride at dawn, she's ready to take care of business. So you have to know what ancestors you're calling on. If you have an old auntie or grandma's cousin and them or whatever, talk to them, ask them, how was Auntie when she was living, when she was on this side of the world? Was she good? Did she have any debts? A lot of our ancestors died with debts that were owed to people, not just monetary debts. They did people wrong when they were alive. So you calling on Uncle Stevie with the bad eye, and he still owed Day and them for some ish that he did when he was living. So you have to be cognizant of what ancestors you're calling on. And if they died with karma, I know that's right, Soraya. I know that's right. That's how I feel too. You know, I'm only going to call on people who I love, trust, and know what they were about. Because you kind of find out and then you don't know why your spell did not go through properly. And it wasn't successful because you're calling on people that got karmic debt. They can't help you. You can probably help them more than they can help you. And they already on the other side. But they died with karmic debt, which is the reason why we burn ancestor money. We burn ancestor money because a lot of our ancestors, they weren't woke. So they died asleep. And then they woke up when they transcended. And so we burn ancestor money for all the debts that they left when they were on earth. All right. So yes, spiritual work requires discernment. But let this be a reminder for you guys. If you don't know what you're doing, do nothing. If you don't know what you're doing, do nothing. Sit and read. Read about the spiritual laws.
What was that song? Don't say nothing. That's I forget the name. And the song was like, just don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Don't do nothing. Don't think nothing. Put it down. Put it up.
Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing, guys. Just reading is fundamental. I'll say that. Reading is fundamental. If you're not sure about something, you just want to just play, just so you can say you did something, read about it. Read about the spiritual laws and consequences, elemental elements that come along with it, because you don't want to find yourself in a situation that you can't get out of unless you go to a practitioner or to someone like B, someone who can rectify the situation, but it's going to cost you. We don't know what you've called in. We don't even know your ancestors. So that's when our intuition is going to have to kick in. Like, I don't know who you called on, but let me just try to tap into that other realm to see who you called in and now what you owe them. And like I said, they are coming to collect and they don't go anywhere. They have nothing but time. So they're not going anywhere. When they come to collect, they're locked and loaded, ready for their payments, okay? And they do not accept CODs or layaway.
Okay.
When they come to collect, they want their payment expeditiously, okay? So be mindful of that.
What they be saying now, run me my mignon.
Run me my mignon, okay? Run me my money. Run me my coins, okay? Because you called on me, so whoop, there it is. What you need?
Right.
I got you. Oh, now you scared? Well, why'd you call on me then? So yeah, a lot of your ancestors were ruthless, okay? They were ruthless. So you gotta know what ancestors to call on for what situation, okay? If you want someone's ass beat, call on that ancestor to like to fight, okay? Call on little Ray, all right? But don't call on Auntie Ann, the praying ancestor, if you want revenge, which you shouldn't do anyway, because if you're protected, the other person's going to automatically get their karma. So you shouldn't be doing revenge spells unless you're doing a protection revenge spell, FYI. But for those of you guys that want to look around and find out what ancestors actually were about that. We're like that. We're about that life, all right? So Ryan said, my mama. Yeah, you know. You know what ancestors were about that life. So call on them. So that's all I have, B. Wisdom will always protect you better than power. Wisdom will always protect you better than power. See, sometimes power is directly tied to ego. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes power is directly tied to ego. And you have to check your ego. You don't have to eradicate it. You have to check it. Because I always say in certain situations, you need your ego. You need your ego when people try to belittle you, try to tell you who they think you are, try to undermine you. You need your ego to come in. Wait, hold up now. This is not what we're going to do. No, you can't talk to me any kind of way. You need your ego for situations like that. Right. But never allow your ego to supersede your intuition. Mm-hmm. Never allow your ego to supersede your intuition. And see, with you being a Gemini Sarai, you have the best of both worlds. You got one side telling you this, and you got this side telling you that. So you can actually simultaneously listen to both sides and pick the side that deeply resonates with you the most. That's what I love about Geminis. My youngest daughter is a Gemini, and you always see her kind of going back and forth with, should I go crazy or be humble? Should I go crazy or be humble? Go crazy, And I love that. Like she kind of like Libra scaled it all the time. Which side you want to get down? So yeah. That's all I
Don't be talking about Uncle's baby like that. Don't be talking about Uncle's baby.
I love her, but she is with us. It's okay. I can already tell she's gonna be with the ish. And she got a Leo moon. And Leo moons ain't scared of
Ain't scared of
Leo
cold.
moons got that fire
Baby.
inside of them.
Whew.
They got that fire. Just like Sagittarius moons. Y'all don't go around. Like, y'all don't play. And y'all not scared of nothing. And that's why I love her strength, her tenacity. So I'm finished. The floor is all yours. Oh, and the offer still stands for those of you guys that book a personal Ask B session. I still have that bubble bath that helps you get in tune with your intuition, a 2-pack that will be sent directly to you after you book your personal Ask B session. I'll send it directly to you. Just DM me your address. Everything stays confidential after you guys book your Ask B sessions. The floor is yours, my love.
All right. So, I also didn't know if anybody had any more questions or wanted to answer the question I put on the floor, and that was, what are some of the things that you may have dabbled with, but you realized that you weren't ready for, so you left it alone? I was just interested if anybody else wanted to share. Because there's so many things out there. There's this one lady that I follow on Instagram, Ash. I don't know if you've seen her or not. I forget, it's like something witch is her name, but she's from Jamaica, and she's always talking about how when people are saying that they found certain artifacts and they brought it home, or they got this from a yard sale and they brought it into their homes, and when you're looking at it, you looking at this item as if you should not have that in your possession. And so her delivery of it is hilarious, but it's truthful, everything that she's saying. Like, there was one where there were some archaeologists who was messing around with a few mummies, and they said, oh, well, we found this artifact in the mummies thing, and we decided to take it and with us and put it in a museum. And she was like, no, like, why are you messing around with tombs? First of all, put it back. And the way she says it's like, put it back. Nobody asked you to move it. Nobody asked you to take it home to your wife and children. Just put it back. She goes very heavy into it, but it's true, because so Ash and I both just talked about how your ancestors could get into some stuff, and you have to deal with it, right? Mm-hmm. If the ancestor of origin that caused this thing to happen was because somebody put a spell on this person, and they put the spell in the form of a doll inside of their coffin that now you have dug up and said, oh, here's a cute little doll, I'm going to take that. You are now adding this same curse to your bloodline. This is why you don't touch everything, okay? It's very, if you were watching us last year, and I told you how I went to this show, and there was a lady, she was playing around with bones, and my grandmother, plain as day, said to me, you better not touch anything out of that basket. And I was like, yes, ma'am. And so I looked, and I just took the basket and passed it over. Because if somebody from the other side is telling you not to do something, don't do it, right? So that's why you got to be very tuned in with your ancestors in the spiritual realm, because they're going to always protect you from things, right? Otherwise, I probably would have touched something, and who knows what would have happened. There's even certain people that, because of who they are spiritually, they are not allowed to touch certain items. They are not physically allowed, because it could harm them. So that's why it's important and imperative to understand what things are you touching, what things are you not touching, understanding what these things mean. It's not oftentimes like I had a conversation with someone, and this was before I found myself in this realm of spirituality. Let me first and foremost say that. Because for those who don't know, I was raised in the church. I'm a PK. I'm a preacher's kid, twice, times two. So to find me in this space, I was like, what's happening? Right? Because I had this background. But even in that, they taught us what not to touch, um, and who to stay clear from. However, another side of me, and maybe this is because this side of me has always been awoke, as we say, right? Had the question of, but how do we know what to look for if we don't know about it? How can I know if somebody's put a spell on me if I never know what a spell will look like? If I don't know what an object that has been cursed or blessed in my possession, how would I know that, right? My mom even has stories of people preparing food for her, but because of her level of discernment, she never ate the food and she stayed away from certain things. So and this is like everyday things. How many times have people offered you food and you so willingly ate it? Have you
Mhm.
ever thought to consider, oh, this person may have put a spell on it? What about even inviting people through your threshold?
Talk about
I
it.
have
Talk about
I
it.
have an evil eye at my door, and I put salt in front of my doorstep, and I said,
Mhm.
let anybody that has any ill will or intentions not be able to cross my threshold.
Mhm.
There's been so many people that have not been back at my apartment. There's been so
And
many
pause,
people who wants to, but they can't, and I'm just
but
like,
can't. But can't and pause. That's how a lot of these wicked women get you men attached to them. The food and the food. Be careful who you eat from. I'm telling y'all, be careful who you eat from. That's how a lot of women get y'all locked in for life.
exactly.
Continue.
Right. And so you all, these are all a part of the do's and the don'ts when it comes to getting spiritually burned, as Ashley so graciously placed it, right? Because you think it's all meaningless or it's something meaningful, you know. It's one thing that Ashley taught me, because I wasn't really thinking on it, but she was like, "No, bestie, any new thing that I get, I sage it now before I put it in my possession with the rest of my things." And I was like, "That's good," because you don't know who handled the product before you. And I know y'all have seen Charm, the original version, and how many times somebody would have sprinkled something over the food or on an object, and then one of the sisters blindly touches the object, and now they're an innate object or an animal, or now their powers are, you know, they can't use their powers for those certain reasons. It's the same thing. Not everything that we see on TV is fiction, and I think that should be talked about more too, because sometimes Hollywood do let out secrets. But you got to know the truth first in order to know what secrets or were the secrets and which is just fiction. But I'm gonna go ahead and get into these cards because I want to know. I have a set of cards that keep coming before me, and I'm gonna be obedient to spirit because these cards are not out here right now. So give me just a moment, guys. There they go. For whatever reason, Spirit wants me to use my hemp deck. So the first one is balance, chaos, but it was in reverse. So that means really paying attention to your balance, which we kind of talked about earlier about getting into or having a cautious or a stable mind before you do any type of spell, right? Before you touch anything, you got to have balance. In the spiritual world, there is nothing but balance, which is why you have a light and a dark to balance each other out, right? There are certain things when it comes to intentions, right? You have to be balanced in your heart space. You have to be equally balanced, being grounded, but as well as being balanced with being, I'll say, in the air. I don't want to say being flighty, but you have that equal balance that keeps you stable. You're grounded just enough to continue to walk and be in the space, but being grounded while also being able to not be so grounded that you're not mindful of what it is that you're supposed to do. So when you find that balance between things, everything works out in your favor. And that's what this balance card is saying, is that you find power and balance. Look at the light there. It's showing you find power and balance. And again, this is in the upright position. But when it's in the upside down position, you have all the work with no power. This card is facing up. Let me see what this is. Urzuli, pay attention. Your ancestors are also saying pay attention to the things that's around you. Um, the ancestors and the spiritual realm, our spiritual team and guides and angels can only do but so much for us on the other side. They they take our lead, right? They follow after our lead. It's like we're the commanding officer and we're the one that tells them what to do and how to do things around us in the spiritual realm. So when you're paying attention, you're able to see clearly and be more aware of what's in your space. You're not I work with a lot of younger people. Let me say this. And being self-aware is not a thing, or it's very rare. And being self-aware is something, is a tool for us, right? It helps shapes your intuition, because when you're self-aware, you'll know when somebody's in your space and they don't need to be, because you start to feel different, right? You feel fear, you feel anger. But when you don't know what those feelings are, because you've never allowed yourself to go through those feelings and things, you become oblivious and you become a prey to things that you shouldn't become prey to. And so that's another thing with paying attention, is because your attention span should not be just electronics, right? You should be able to look at the electronic, but also know what's happening in your peripheral vision. If you listen to a few older people, I'll say that, they will tell you, especially those who used to be in a gang, they'll let you know, like, no, my back is to the corner and my eyes is on the door at all times because I need to see who's coming in. And although that is a tactic and a practice that a lot of people who've been in that realm, right, they will tell you that's a good thing to always keep. And that's true. You want to be that self-aware in your spiritual practice. That way you're not allowing things to come in or things to leave you that is there to help protect you, right? Coruscant autonomy, right? You have the autonomy to set the pace and the actions of what happens in your life. And so it all depends on you at the end of the day, whether you decide to go through with the thing or to not go through with it. It ultimately depends on your actions. Now, we talked about a love spell, but this goes for any type of spell, whether good or bad. What are your intentions with this spell? Are you there to help someone, or are you there to distract someone, to try to control someone? When you do these things, they don't work out in your favor and they actually backfire. And a lot of people don't understand that when that happens, that's a strike against you, right? It's almost like you've been in the press for doing something wrong. And guess what? The whole spiritual realm understands and knows that that was you, right? I've talked several times on this platform about how when people would do things to me, I wouldn't have to do anything back because the spiritual realm, my ancestors, God, got them back for me. And it when you're someone who understands the spiritual laws, let me say that the spiritual laws, you understand that you don't have to do much. All you have to do is continue to do good and put intentions in the world. And if someone tries to throw, throw dirt on your name or try to harm you in any way, the universe will protect you because you are one of the universe's guiding lights of light. And again, we already know, somebody who talked earlier about how much darkness is in the world. We have enough darkness in the world. We need more light beings to step up and step forward and not be afraid, right? Oh yeah, the next card that came out was Spirit. And I think it's ironic because the card also says act. And that's what I was saying. Like you can't be complacent anymore. Once the light beings understand their place and their power in the world, they can act more. They can stop being silent. And think about it. When you have several people that are working on a project, right? It's one thing to be a single person working on a 16-page project, right? But when you have 5 or 6 different people that's also working on that 16-page project, right? You divide it up equally so that nobody's taking on too much of the task, and with everybody's bits and parts done at an accurate time, the project still gets completed and it's using less of the energy that you would have had, right? So when you decide that you want to act, again, your spiritual team is there waiting on you. When you act, they move with you. The spiritual world moves in alignment with you because they understand that this mission has to get done. And anybody who comes against that mission for you, baby, that spiritual team is on defense. Like, what? Why? Like, don't you destroy this? Don't hinder this progress, right? This is something that is going to change a lot of people. And anything that comes to hinder the spirit of God's work or spirit's work, it's not going to last.
Nope.
It's not going to last. It's like, and y'all will hear me say God and spirit interchangeably because that's how, again, I was raised Christian, but I recognize source as source. I recognize God as he, she, they. Why? Because when I had that conversation, Spirit had to let me know I'm genderless. And I said, we trying to give a physical attribute to a being,
Supernatural being.
a supernatural being. And think about it. If the supernatural being can have essence in both male and female. And do we not talk about masculine and feminine energies all the time?
Yep. That part.
I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm just gonna leave it there. Oh, this is my favorite card. Woo! Ooh, I love this card. So I had to see, but I had to see what the word was. So the next card is also in reverse, but it means to really pay attention. But this card is the Yemeya card.
Yemeya.
And the word is resurrection.
Ooh.
So, and again, it's upside down because a lot of you need to resurrect some of the things that you put down because you felt like you were, I'm hearing the term out of order. For some of you, you didn't realize that what you hold was true power. And because other people couldn't see the true power, they made you shut up. They made you hold your tongue when you should have spoke out. They made you, for some of you, they made you think that you were crazy. So the dreams that you had, you kind of forced yourself to stop dreaming. I can almost hear some of you saying, like, I used to dream a lot, but now I don't. And that's because you shut it off. It's because you shut it off. There's other things that like people will have when people don't understand spiritual gifts, and I can say it like that. They call it demonic. They call it you playing around with the devil's work. They become fearful of your soul and they want to cleanse you, right? But they don't understand the true essence of spirituality. Spirituality is nothing that you can conform into a box and reprint it because we each have our own DNA and genetic code, which means that we're wired differently, which means that just like the fingerprint, it's not your plan is not going to look like my plan, right? And vice versa, which is another reason why you can't touch so many things because if you're supposed to if we say this, if you're supposed to be a healer, why are you playing with Baba Legba stuff? Baby, who is you trying to talk to from the other world? Baby, you are a healer. You're supposed to prevent them.
I love Papa Legba. Hold up now. What's wrong with Papa Legba?
I'm just saying. It's for the essence of his card. Don't try. So, okay. It goes back to what I was saying earlier about mainstream media, right? Because they can glorify certain deities over the other, that people get hooked on them for those deities. But if you are a healer and your deity should be, what is it, Archangel Uriel? And instead of you connecting with Uriel, you're connecting with Baba Legba, it's not going to work for you.
That's true.
It's going to backfire on you because they're going to be like, baby, you're not even, he going to be looking at you like, why this little girl in my kitchen messing around with my pot? Like, no. And I had the same conversation with two of my god sisters who we hadn't talked in, and I found out that they were also into the spiritual realm. And there's one, she began to talk to me a lot about snakes. And I said, wow, that's interesting. And it's because, you know, she's been called to that realm of serpentry, right? Serpentry. And not everybody can go that route. It takes a specific type of person to be with the serpentry word. And I was like, okay. And then the other one, she's more like me, like very intuitive, and she's like, yo, like, bro, like my intuition is off the chain. And I'm like, exactly. And I said, and you're at the beginning, but there's a lot more to you, right? And so just watching them to see, like how their lives have changed is amazing. But they also, outside of me, they had the lady that was doing their nails, Red. She was able to guide them to the particulars that they needed to go to, right? Because you don't want to tap into something that's not meant for you and it actually harms you.
That part.
I've had stories like that with Ouija boards, but
Okay.
listen,
That's a whole nother topic.
that's a whole other topic. But I'm just saying, you know, it won't work for those who it won't work for, but it will work for for certain people. So resurrect what you have been hiding, what you have killed in the name of embarrassment, of being ridiculed, right? What somebody made you run away from. That is your true essence. So balance and resurrection is like really key here. It's very really like to really pay attention. Uwa Aljana beyond, right? Because you got help from beyond. You have family members from beyond that are still working with you and helping you, but you have to make sure that you are self-aware of their presence. Um, you have to understand that you have to pay attention to your surroundings so you can navigate the way you're supposed to. You're supposed to be able to act when you're supposed to. Because the other thing is with this card is that your ancestors leave you signs all the time. But whether or not you understand those signs is up to you. There's certain things that there was one young lady that was here, and I believe she said that like pennies or something was like something that she knew like a loved one would leave for her.
Pennies.
And so she will find pennies. It's whatever that thing is for you. For some of you, it has been dreams, right? But whatever that thing is from, that is your ancestors letting you know that I am near and close by, that we are watching with you. So you can ask them anything and they will answer. They will reply. Ask me how many times they like to rearrange the photos in my family wall. Like, listen, I need y'all to stop messing with my photos. And that's it for the collective read for right now.
I want to touch on something that you said in a collective reading because it still stands true to this day. You do have to be careful what you tap into when you are first introduced to spirituality because it is a rabbit hole. And sometimes you jump into it and you just want to tap into everything like myself. I wanted to do palm reading. I wanted to do crystal ball gazing, tarot, everything under the sun. And you don't want to be oversaturated and overstimulated because then you can't hone in on one gift and perfect it, right? So when you mentioned the Ouija board, I was like instantly like, that's something that, you know, you really have to be cognizant of because with the Ouija board comes with a lot of other elemental elements that you don't know the consequences of. And I used a Ouija board when I was like 8 years old. And even then, way before I was tapped in, I still didn't feel right after I played with it. Like it was something I still remember playing with it in my neighbor's house in the living room. After I walked out of that house and walked home, I didn't feel right. Something didn't sit well with me. So that's why it's important, as Becky said, after he gave the read or while he was doing the read, you have to be tapped into your intuition because just because it's tied to spirituality does not mean that it's right for you. And even your nieces or niece that was called in serpentry, you know, you do have to be called in specifically for that spiritual gift. So don't try to do everything, guys. Hone in on what resonates with you and it'll be good. Don't try to tap into every spiritual gift that's out there. Some things they're introducing that are new aren't new. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything has been here. It's just being whitewashed, reprogrammed, and reintroduced. There's nothing new under the sun. Just be careful when you guys are playing with different spiritual gifts. But that read really resonated with me because I really felt like when I first tapped into my spirituality, I wanted to do everything, and you can't. Some things you do have to be called to, or called into. Even with the Orishas, I know that we talked about this last year. You have to see what Orisha you resonate with, but not even that. Are you being called?
Right.
Are you being called to even be, on that neck of the woods?
Exactly.
In that neck of the woods? If not, then you got to keep it pushing. Sometimes you don't need it, because hoodoo and voodoo, two different things. Even my daughter can tell you the difference in hoodoo and voodoo, okay? When you're doing hoodoo, it's really working with the elemental elements. You're, working with nature. You're working with, fire. When you get into voodoo, you're really dealing with these ancient ancestors, and these Orishas. Guys, be careful who you work with, know what you're doing, because you don't know what comes with it. You really don't know. So you want to start somewhere, start with hoodoo, okay? Start with hoodoo. So thank you, B, for giving us that read that we didn't know that we needed. You ate and left no crumbs. As per usual, the myth, the man, the legend, who gets better and better and better. So we appreciate that. Guys, this was definitely needed. We probably should have did this podcast years ago, B, because people really don't know where to start once they have their spiritual awakening. They just want to start everywhere.
Yes.
And you have to. Yeah, because it really does pull you in different directions, especially when you have different spiritual gifts. You don't know where to start.
Exactly.
So this is to help you guys start with self. Start with meditating, and spirit and your ancestors, spirit guides, ascended masters, guardian angels, they will let you know what you're good at and what you're being called to do. But you won't know that until you bring it back home to self and meditate. All right, guys? So yeah. Meditate. When you meditate, everything else comes. But first, you got to know thyself, and everything else will come. I would have been here years ago. Yeah, well, I think you were here years ago. You were here when we started.
Yeah.
Because we've been connected on YouTube for a while, really. So I think you were probably one of the first viewers that we had on here. So you were here years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe not every Tuesday, but you were definitely here. You got it out the mud with us. You were 10 toes down out the sandbox with us. So you've been here.
That's true. That's true.
You ain't new to this, you true to this. You was here, I remember.
Yeah.
Maybe not consistently, but you were here. You definitely were here. So yeah, guys. So that's going to wrap up tonight's episode of Cards and Conversations. We appreciate everyone that was on with us. As you guys know, we do this every Tuesday. That's right. See, that's how you know you were the real one. Because he said, okay. I'm at wherever you at.
Okay, I saw that. I was just like,
that's a real one right there.
Okay.
You really are living up to your name, Realist. That's a real one right there. So, yeah. So, as you guys know, we do this every Tuesday. Same time, same place, 11:11 Eastern Standard Time.
Yes.
I wish I could do timestamps for you guys. I know that's going to be so lengthy, but I would love to do timestamps so you guys can just go straight to like the meat of the conversation. Once we move over to YouTube or expand to YouTube, I'll start doing timestamps for you guys. All right. So that will conclude tonight's episode. We will post it. Please like, comment, share with a friend. Each one, teach one, reach one. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Cards and Conversations, where every episode unfolds a deck of intriguing discussions. Peace, y'all. Love you. Peace. Of intriguing discussions.